Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Spiritual Will had at that moment entirely stepped into a new realm. If before Luo Feng's spiritual will was tenacious and indestructible, not shaken even if the world ends, can cut through all obstacles on the path, then at this moment Luo Feng's spiritual will had gained an additional layer of nuance. Spiritual will, when gathered, can be as unstoppable as the heavens and earth. When divided, it can branch into billions, endlessly bursting with vitality. Even if Luo Feng's spiritual will was subjected to a terrible attack, as long as a trace remained, it could rapidly recover to its pinnacle. This was the heart of eternality that Luo Feng had comprehended from the Calamity Beast diagram. Possessing the heart of eternality was the key to overcoming countless calamities and reaching the final shore, to truly transform oneself. My spiritual will had long ago reached the peak level of a primal chaos overlord. Yet even becoming an eternal true god, with a godly body 100 billion times stronger, and after cultivating the Lai Yuan technique for more than 24 eras, I still hadn't made a breakthrough. It was all because I lacked an essential understanding. Without an essential understanding, one can only rely on the passage of time to refine oneself. I'm afraid that only after several thousand or even tens of thousands of eras of refining the Lai Yuan technique can the breakthrough to a godly king's will occur. Luo Feng suddenly had this enlightenment. Time is indeed magical. With long periods of refinement, there will eventually be rewards. But the fact that I could make a breakthrough in such a short time owes much to the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram, which has transformed my understanding of spiritual will. I've only grasped the mere basics of the Calamity Beast diagram, and yet I've transformed. How terrifying must the actual Calamity Beasts be? Luo Feng wondered. With this transformation of will, my strength has finally increased significantly. Facing a primal chaos overlord, I now have means to respond. Luo Feng felt considerably more at ease. In the past, it was the pinnacle primal chaos will combined with the Lai Yuan technique, but the ancient primal chaos overlords possessed a variety of inheritances, all with rather formidable secret techniques of willpower, and even those with exceptional talent could comprehend the origin Great Tao to create their own secret technique of willpower. Their will, even if not reaching the pinnacle of primal chaos, generally would not differ by much. Therefore, once they engaged in battle, if the gap in willpower was not significant, then merely relying on the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique would make it difficult to defeat the opponent. An injured primal chaos overlord could still launch a frenzied counterattack. According to my master's intelligence, amongst the primal chaos overlords, only a few have spiritual wills that have broken through to the godly king level. Luo Feng thought. Below the level of a godly king's will, it's likely that none can match me. A godly king's will and the pinnacle primal chaos will are fundamentally different. With the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique, I would be more than sufficient to sweep through most of the primal chaos realm. As my strength increases, the advantage of the Lai Yuan technique will also diminish. Luo Feng understood this point. According to my master's information, Yuan in the Land of Origin is a legend who has escaped the braided cage. He has also guided many juniors and left behind some inheritances. The Lai Yuan technique is just one among them. The inheritances left by Yuan indeed caused a scramble among the various forces in the Land of Origin, with the majority ultimately being controlled by the two ancient countries. Moreover, my master suspects that there must also be some ancient beings in the two ancient countries who have broken free from the braided cage, because those countries are far too strong compared to others, with many mysterious and powerful inheritances. Luo Feng mused. For instance, the emperor of the flame-wind ancient country who painted this drawing. I've only grasped a bit of the fundamentals, and yet I've made a breakthrough. And he had watched the Calamity Beasts and personally painted many Calamity Beast diagrams. Luo Feng had some understanding that these Calamity Beast diagrams were sold to outsiders for 15 million cosmic sand each. But to that emperor of the flame-wind ancient country, he probably didn't care about the cosmic sand at all. What he cared about were the repeated drawings of the Calamity Beast diagrams. Each time he drew, it must have been an act of spiritual cultivation. That emperor who drew the Calamity Beast diagrams, to what realm has his spiritual will reached? Luo Feng could sense, even from just a part of the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram, how vast the gap between himself and the painter was. My spiritual will has just entered the threshold of a godly king's level. And what about him? The flame-wind ancient country is indeed unfathomable. If one emperor is so terrifying, there are probably more than one of such beings. The higher Luo Feng's strength rose, the more serene he became. He had not a hint of arrogance, knowing there were many stronger than him. But he also had not a trace of inferiority, for even at the stage of an eternal true god, he possessed a godly king's will. When he becomes a godly king in the future, to what realm will his spiritual will reach? Sigh. Luo Feng glanced at the 3000 Void Calamity Beast diagram floating in the air, and with a single thought, he left the Star Tower. When Luo Feng exited the underground hall, he saw Morosa leisurely eating and drinking at the foot of the mountain. It's been so long, and you're still not done digesting? Luo Feng took a step and approached Morosa. Morosa smiled naively. I can't waste the effects, I need to fully digest them. I guess in a few more days, I can go into seclusion again. Luo Feng nodded in understanding. Going into seclusion again meant that it was time for Morosa to consume the divine body of Shui Yun to achieve the primal chaos realm. When the time comes, my realm will also break through, and I'll master several innate secret techniques, Morosa communicated through his spirit. I can also show the master the complete law of primal chaos. Let's see your performance. Luo Feng smiled faintly. The higher Morosa's realm, the more mysteries of destruction's origin he could show to Luo Feng, which naturally included the law of primal chaos. The law of primal chaos is magical, the foundation of any origin great Tao. The sector beast is indeed the favored child of the highest rules, naturally mastering the origin of destruction and, with growth, would ultimately fully control the great Tao of destruction origin, possessing inconceivable abilities. Master, I feel you're a bit different today, Morosa observed Luo Feng, for as a soul-enslaved servant, with their spirits connected, he could faintly sense the changes in his master. I've had some realizations in my cultivation, Luo Feng said. You go ahead and eat slowly. Luo Feng flashed and was already at the mountain peak. Morosa glanced over and muttered under his breath, some insights. Keep having insights, but I've already become primal chaos realm. The taste of being stronger than his own master, Morosa found it particularly exhilarating. ********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Xin, were leisurely exploring. Their small universe had a diameter of 100 billion light-years, and human civilization was extremely flourishing. Although Luo Feng could sense countless planets within the small universe with a thought, that would make it boring. He chose not to deliberately probe, and instead enjoyed touring different places with his wife, discovering fresh new experiences. Luo Feng, let's go. Accompany me to see the divine tree on this planet. Just one planet, and yet over 70% of it is made up of a single divine tree. It's so interesting, Xu Xin said. You go ahead, Luo Feng said. I have something to do today. I should go first. Xu Xin was startled. Can't you just send a divine power incarnation to handle your affairs? You don't have the energy to accompany me. Her husband's realm was so high, he could manage many divine power incarnations simultaneously with a single thought. Today is different, Luo Feng shook his head. Even my true body at the other end of the samsara channel needs to rest and give this my all. What is it? Xu Xin asked curiously. Dealing with the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng said. Xu Xin was shocked. Dealing with the primordial cosmos? Yes, I need it to completely open up the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me, Luo Feng said. During the last reincarnation era, when the primordial cosmos was destroyed, I entered the source ground of the primordial cosmos. Back then, the primordial cosmos only allowed me into a small corner of the source ground. Now, I want it to open up every part of the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me, without any hidden areas, Luo Feng continued. The information from the master, from the Duandong River lineage, and even some information circulated on the land of origin all had records about the primordial cosmos. The primordial cosmos, with its 3,000 dimensions, allowed strong beings who braved the cycle of reincarnation to arrive on the land of origin a chance if their will was strong enough to seize control of the primordial cosmos. However, the will of the primordial cosmos was generally very strong. It often required a primal chaos-level will, and possibly even a godly king-level will to be successful. Thus, those who successfully seized control were still few and far between. But for every successful individual, the benefits for their cultivation were substantial. It's individuals like the mountain-sitting guest, who were already godly kings, that didn't have much ambition to seize control of the primordial cosmos. Completely opens up every part of the source ground. Shu Xin didn't quite understand, but she knew from listening that it was extraordinary. In that situation, the life and death of the primordial cosmoses would be in my hands, Luo Feng explained. I could erase its will at any time, replacing it with my own, and control the entire primordial cosmos. So, the will of the primordial cosmos won't agree to it easily. I never thought about having to erase its will. I'll give it a chance to live, provided it opens up the source ground to me completely, Luo Feng said. This was the biggest opportunity for every strong being that came to the land of origin through the cycle of reincarnation. Are you confident? Shu Xin asked. I wasn't in the past, but now I am, Luo Feng said. According to the information, even if the naturally born will of the primordial cosmos used the cosmos as its vessel, it couldn't contend with a godly king-level will. Be careful, Shu Xin knew the importance of her husband's task. The one that needs to be careful is the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng said with a slight smile. At this moment, a strand of divine power incarnation had already left the small universe and was traveling through the void, heading straight for the primordial cosmos. At this moment, Luo Feng's true body and other incarnations were resting, with almost all of his consciousness focused on this strand of divine power incarnation, making its consciousness exceptionally vast. Boom tilde 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 This strand of divine power incarnation had barely approached the primordial cosmos when an invisible wave of spiritual will crushed down. One was a weak divine power incarnation. The other was the immeasurably vast primordial cosmos. Without the constraints of the supreme laws, when Luo Feng's spiritual will collided with the primordial cosmos, the will of the primordial cosmos began to tremble. A vibration came through, inquiring about Luo Feng's purpose. Will of the primordial cosmos, you should know that, as a creature born from the primordial cosmos, being powerful enough gives me the right to control it. This is an opportunity for cultivation granted to me by the supreme laws, Luo Feng's thoughts conveyed. The will of the primordial cosmos sent back vibrations, a mix of annoyance and urgency. You understand, you can't threaten me, Luo Feng continued to convey his thoughts. I give you two choices. One is to open up the source ground of the primordial cosmos to me completely, leaving no secrets from my sight. Your will would still exist and could still control the primordial cosmos. The other option is to refuse me, and my will would invade the primordial cosmos, even into the source ground. Then, I will erase your will and completely control the primordial cosmos. The will of the primordial cosmos sent out waves, it was negotiating. The source ground was very important to it, just as the true God's heart was to a true God. If completely opened, Luo Feng could erase it at any moment, and it would be powerless to resist. It only wanted to open up a part, unwilling to expose its most core areas. The primordial cosmos will wanted to negotiate, and in response, Luo Feng sent forth his spiritual will with a single thought, boom tilde 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 The formidable might of the godly kings will made the primordial cosmos will considerably wary. I'm not here to negotiate with you, the source ground of the primordial cosmos must open up to me completely. Luo Feng conveyed his thoughts, will you agree, or will you refuse? The primordial cosmos will send out fluctuations. It had the entire primordial cosmos as its carrier, and the source ground possessed extremely strong protection, it was capable of resistance. I admit, you can marshal forces to fight back, and perhaps this divine power incarnation of mine will collapse. Luo Feng gazed upon the vast and boundless primordial cosmos, thoughts transmitting, but if one of my divine power incarnations collapses, I will immediately send out a second one, a third one, endlessly. In this confrontation, your defeat is certain. The primordial cosmos will fell silent. Originally, the primordial ancestor attempted to replace the primordial cosmos will with his own, using the virtual universe to cover the entire primordial cosmos, launching an internal attack suddenly, posing a greater threat. Yet once he failed, he was suppressed by the primordial cosmos. It was Luo Feng who later resolved the catastrophe of the sector beast, convincing the primordial cosmos to release the primordial ancestor. As for Luo Feng's divine power incarnation attacking from the outside, the demand on will was higher, yet it was also safer. While it's difficult for the will to invade the primordial cosmos from outside, Luo Feng's thoughts transferred, I have endless opportunities. How many times can you stop me? The primordial cosmos will transmitted information. It had multiple dealings with Luo Feng and wanted to persuade him. Indeed, we have some connections, so I am giving you a chance. If you won't even grant me the opportunity for comprehension, you can't blame me. Luo Feng's eyes turned cold as his will became more terrifying, surging massively, already invading the primordial cosmos. Luo Feng's will, dispersed into billions infiltrating everywhere, yet also formed into a cohesive oppression, making it very hard for the primordial cosmos will to withstand. There was a vast gap between their realms. So be it, perhaps the primordial cosmos will is not willing to yield. Then, I can only take action. Luo Feng shook his head. Humans needed meat to eat, and for cultivators facing opportunities bestowed by heaven and earth, they could not afford to miss them. Seizing the chance to control the primordial cosmos was the greatest opportunity for those braving the reincarnation era, its value on par with the Lai Yuan technique. Once obtained, 1 foot was already stepping into the godlike level. But of course, securing this opportunity was extremely difficult. The chances of an eternal true God successfully soul transferring were rather low, although primal chaos overlords stood a much better chance. However, the powerhouses of the 3,000 primordial cosmoses started from too low a point and had to follow the path of laws, making it incredibly difficult to become eternal true gods, let alone primal chaos overlords. Moreover, if their growth was too slow, they would face the catastrophe of the sector beast. The sector beast could devour primordial cosmoses, which still had the opportunity to grow anew. However, the small universes of the eternal true gods had no means to withstand a grown sector beast. This showed how incredibly difficult it was to take control of the primordial cosmos. With the opportunity before him, how could Luo Feng let it slip by? Luo Feng's spiritual will had already struck into the primordial cosmos. Wherever the primordial cosmos will tried to defend, it crumbled away. Suddenly, the primordial cosmos will sent out a message. Luo Feng was surprised for a moment, then laughed, I thought you truly wouldn't yield. At this moment, the information conveyed by the primordial cosmos will was clear. It conceded, bowed down, willing to completely open the source ground of the primordial cosmos. Its only request was to hope not to be erased. It had wisdom. It too wanted to live. Rest assured, I keep my word, Luo Feng responded to it. Immediately, Luo Feng stepped forth and entered into the primordial cosmos. The vast dark region ahead naturally formed into a wormhole passage leading to a place of mystery. When I resolved the catastrophe of the sector beast, I felt the great destruction of the primordial cosmos in one corner of the source ground. Luo Feng reflected silently. But now, before the strength on display, the primordial cosmos will has yielded, allowing me to comprehend the operations of the primordial cosmos laws at my leisure. Following this natural wormhole passage, Luo Feng arrived at a vast and mysterious space. This immense space was impossible to find with ordinary senses. It drifted with countless specks of light. These countless specks were scanned over by Luo Feng with a thought. Some seemed minuscule but contained immensely vast energy. Others, however, were filled with a great deal of information. The primordial cosmos underwent great destruction and then began anew, flourishing and declining, only to be destroyed again in a continual cycle. Luo Feng mused, the source ground keeps records of information from cycle to cycle in the reincarnation era. Information of various civilizations, of powerful secret techniques. But for Luo Feng, these meant little. After all, the creatures living within the primordial cosmos were too weak. Whoosh! The primeval space enveloped Luo Feng in colorful radiance, as if he were clothed in a robe of colors. At that moment, Luo Feng's will extended instantly. At that moment, The primordial cosmos was like a physical body, his will fused with it as one. He himself was the primordial cosmos. At that moment, Luo Feng could feel himself embodying the primordial cosmos, breathing in, drawing in endless energy from the universe ocean, transforming into endless life energy stored within the primeval space, while also exhaling a large amount of harmful substances. But even the primordial cosmos, in its operation, would gradually decline and inevitably move towards ultimate destruction. Only through destruction could it welcome new life. Truly wonderful, Luo Feng felt. The countless celestial bodies within the primordial cosmos, or even a grain of sand, a wisp of air, all were incarnations of Luo Feng. Luo Feng could feel their life cycles. Some flowers, grasses, and trees might have extremely short life cycles, while celestial bodies could last much longer. Even galaxies and star fields have life cycles. Galaxies and star fields do not possess conscious life. However, flesh and blood life, plant life, and so forth, can indeed gain consciousness and embark on the path of evolution. All this is the influence of the laws in operation, Luo Feng observed, and his understanding of the functioning of laws also deepened. From a macro perspective, the operation of the laws in the primordial cosmos guides the evolution of the entire cosmos. But on a micro level, the operation of many laws leads to changes in everything, even brimming with infinite possibilities. The entire human race, including Luo Feng himself, is the result of these laws in operation. An invisible hand guides the evolution of all things. And this invisible hand is the operation of the cosmic laws. Luo Feng felt keenly, knowing that the 10 fundamental laws were only the most superficial aspect. It's like 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets everything. The 10 fundamental laws are merely 3, it's their ability to create everything that fascinates Luo Feng. On a planet within Luo Feng's miniature universe, Xu Xin wasn't in the mood to watch the planet's tree, instead staying by her husband's side as Luo Feng sat cross-legged under the tree with his eyes closed. I wonder how Luo Feng is faring against the will of the primordial cosmos. Xu Xin was very worried, as that was the will of the primordial cosmos, after all. Suddenly, she noticed Luo Feng opening his eyes. How is it? Xu Xin asked immediately. The will of the primordial cosmos has yielded, Luo Feng said with a smile. It has opened up the primeval space to me, indeed a great aid to cultivation. That's good to hear, Xu Xin said happily. She had always been worried about her husband's days on the other end of the samsara channel. After all, his true body was there, and if he died, it would be a true death. She couldn't help much, so seeing her husband gain a great opportunity naturally made her happy. Is it very dangerous on the other side of the samsara channel? Xu Xin asked. It's all right, Luo Feng replied with a smile. Your husband I keep a low profile and don't cause trouble, and even if there are some, they're just small issues. The land of origin is said to be dangerous, naturally hiding endless perils. If not deemed dangerous, and one keeps a low profile and doesn't provoke terrifying existences, it can still be managed quite comfortably. At the source ground within the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng immersed in comprehension for a long time before finally stopping. When the 10 fundamental laws are completely merged into one, it forms the law of primal chaos, Luo Feng murmured, and the operation of the primordial cosmos laws is far more vast than the law of primal chaos. Merging with the primordial cosmos, feeling its breath, its movements, has greatly aided my comprehension of the laws. Luo Feng looked into the distance. The vast space wherein the source ground was located, extremely large, also concealed a true core. This was also recorded in the intelligence from his master, Mountain Sitting Guest, and from the Duandong River lineage. The will of the primordial cosmos didn't dare to be evasive. Once it said it would open up completely, it had to be complete. If it was evasive, the consequences would likely be very serious. It was well aware of Luo Feng's temperament. With a step, Luo Feng had already arrived at the true core of the source ground. As soon as he arrived, Luo Feng saw the substantial manifestation of an immense Tao. At first glance, it seemed like an endless, winding dragon with 24 claws, each dragon scale containing endless information, and each of the 24 claws contained information far beyond the law of primal chaos. Its vastness and depth were indescribable. His perfect divine body was strong, but in front of it, as fragile as floating dust. Its size was infinite. It was hidden within the source ground of the primordial cosmos, but its vastness, Luo Feng felt, transcended the primordial cosmos. It was boundlessly immense. Merely by watching, Luo Feng naturally received a great deal of information. Is this the legendary core of the primordial cosmos, the great Tao of life origin? Luo Feng looked up at it, so astounding. At first glance, it is a serpentine dragon. On closer inspection, it resembles a river that runs through past and future. Time and space cannot erode it, it is an eternal existence. And yet another look, it is an endless, magnificent, godly body. Luo Feng had once seen the imposing corpse of God King Jin with his own eyes, and compared to what he now saw, it was utterly insignificant. That seemed to be the ultimate pursuit of his perfect divine body. From different angles come different views. It is the origin of countless lives. It even represents the very concept of life itself. The great Tao of life origin. Luo Feng murmured, a complete origin great Tao, without any concealment, right before my eyes. This is the greatest opportunity to control the primordial cosmos. In the heart of the source ground of the primordial cosmos, Luo Feng was gazing up at the majestic and vast great Tao of life origin before him. Previously in cultivation, Luo Feng had scarce resources, far less than the elites nurtured by the Shi Kingdom and Yu country, let alone compared to the elites of the two ancient countries. The calamity beast diagram that excited him was merely a cheap resource sold externally by the flame-wind ancient country. The so-called void diagram paired with calamity beast diagram was also circulated among the descendants of the big families in the flame-wind ancient country. Clearly, in the eyes of the flame-wind ancient country, such resources were trifling. Yet with just these resources, Luo Feng's will broke through to the godly king level. The great Tao of life origin is right in front of my eyes, and Morosa can also demonstrate some mysteries of the great Tao of destruction origin for me. At least with these two Tao of origin, my cultivation will be much smoother, thought Luo Feng. There are many types of origin great Tao. Great powers cultivating their descendants can choose a suitable path according to what they are good at and equip them with corresponding resources. Luo Feng had fewer choices available to him. Given the possibility to choose, Luo Feng was already very grateful. What I comprehend most deeply is the source of life and death. Both the life origin and destruction origin are quite suitable for me. Luo Feng was quite satisfied. According to the information left by my master, the primal chaos overlord, upon comprehending the threshold of the origin great Tao, one can become a godly king. Upon becoming a godly king, one can then begin to glimpse some of the aspects of the origin great Tao they are comprehending. Before becoming a godly king, the origin great Tao is invisible and intangible. Naturally, there are indirect methods, such as a godly king personally displaying the Tao to a disciple, or some rare treasures that can manifest parts of the Tao. Owning the primordial cosmos allows one to see the great Tao of life origin. The Tao is before my very eyes, but to comprehend it, I must rely on myself. Luo Feng was very clear on this. The two ancient countries had numerous opportunities, but how many could become a godly king? Even Emperor Chu Yu was at the stage of eternal true God now. Regardless of how abundant the resources are, it still depends on the individual. The calamity beast diagram was openly sold throughout the land of origin, but how many have a will at the godly king level? Life origin. Luo Feng, sitting cross-legged in the void, watched the great Tao of life origin before him. Just by watching, a wealth of information surged into his mind. This serpentine dragon before him, each of its scales imprinted vast amounts of information into Luo Feng's consciousness, and those 24 claws were even more so, constantly inundating him with vast information, with a swarm of information about the great Tao of life origin being too vast and complex, flooding in all at once. As the massive information surged in, Luo Feng's past understanding of the laws seemed superficial. The information from the life origin carried a supreme beauty with each piece, naturally changing many aspects of Luo Feng's cognition. This isn't right. Luo Feng had only comprehended for a moment before he immediately woke up, and in an instant, he dispersed this incarnation of divine power. In the land of origin, Yu Kingdom, Huyang City. Luo Feng was also in seclusion in the underground hall, and at this moment, he he felt a sense of fear. So, facing the complete life origin directly is so dangerous? Luo Feng was secretly alarmed. No wonder soul transferring the primordial cosmos requires a high level of will. If the will is too low, facing the life origin directly can easily lead to complete loss of self. One's own understanding can be completely altered by the impact of more profound Tao information. It could even drive one completely insane, which is entirely possible. What I control is truly mine. I must take it step by step, absorbing what I need, discard what is currently unsuitable for me, establishing the foundation of my own Tao. Luo Feng understood that there was nothing wrong with the massive information, but his own realm was too low. It's like asking an elementary school student on Earth, who had just learned addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and some basic equations, to immediately face a deluge of higher mathematics information. Most importantly, this influx was chaotic. The best approach should be from low to high, from shallow to deep, evolving gradually. Every step of the foundation must be solid to have the hope of fully analyzing the entire life origin. If one were to absorb all the information, it would only contaminate one's cognition. Fortunately, I have reached the godly king's will and can maintain absolute clarity. Luo Feng knew that face-to-face with life origin was an opportunity not less than the Lai Yuan technique, but the prerequisite was to be able to grasp it. If not able to grasp it, it can be harmful rather than beneficial. Starting with my original cognition as the core, I began to absorb what is useful to me. Luo Feng segmented his memory. The memories before watching the life origin were one part, the memories contacted after watching the life origin were another part, and he began selectively absorbing information from the latter part, temporarily sealing away what was momentarily useless. At Luo Feng's level, memory control was quite an easy task. First sort through the information, slowly integrating it into myself. Luo Feng calmed down to cultivate. Only after sorting out, researching, reflecting, summarizing, and absorbing all the information from this observation could he proceed to watch the great Tao of life origin again. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Time passed, and Luo Feng temporarily stopped comprehending the 3000 void calamity beast diagram, focusing on the comprehension of laws, as the taste of continuous slow improvements was indeed wonderful. This was much more efficient than the comprehension he had done over the past 2 decades. Master, Morosa came to the door of the underground hall, conveying through the mind, I've digested it all, you can let me in now. Morosa also found this somewhat strange. In the past, the master often came out to rest, but this time the comprehension session was quite long. Buzz. The doors to the underground hall opened, and when Morosa saw Luo Feng, a knot formed in his heart. Could it be that his master was not too pleased? After all, Luo Feng was immersed in the comprehension process, and Morosa had suddenly interrupted him, leaving his thoughts still afloat. Hurry up, Luo Feng beckoned and sent Morosa into his exclusive layer of space within the Star Tower, then continued to comprehend the mysteries of law. Arriving at his own layer in the Star Tower, Morosa sat cross-legged in front of the corpse of Divine Monarch Shueyun, immediately beginning to absorb. The Divine Monarch's body started to disintegrate, and the dissolving divine power and bloodline surged toward Morosa. A smile of satisfaction appeared on Morosa's face as he began to absorb the essence. This bloodline of Shueyun, could it be of the primal chaos realm level? Morosa could tell the difference as soon as he began absorbing it. Even if Yu Tianshu's bloodline was special, it was fundamentally different from that of Shueyun's corpse. Before his death, Shueyun had undergone a bloodline transformation, resulting in a primal chaos realm bloodline. This is a huge gain, exclaimed Morosa joyfully, and he immediately began absorbing and assimilating continuously. In another layer of the Star Tower space, Luo Feng was sitting cross-legged. The divine power incarnation in the source ground of the primordial cosmos was facing the great Tao of life origin for the 9th time, naturally receiving a wealth of Tao information. In just over an hour, Luo Feng stopped. He began to digest the information about the Tao he had received this time. Over the prior lengthy period, Luo Feng's realm had reached the pinnacle of an eternal true God. However, having faced the great Tao of life origin just 9 times, Luo Feng had advanced further in all aspects of comprehension. I originally thought that the transition from the pinnacle of an eternal true God to the primal chaos realm, even with my godly king's will and highly efficient comprehension, would require a long time to accumulate. But now, facing the great Tao of life origin, the speed of accumulation is much faster, Luo Feng mused to himself. Of course, that was just the way it was. The great Tao is laid out before him, but it must still be comprehended selectively and progress must be made step by step. Just like the tangible manifestation of the primal chaos laws in the primal chaos ruins, how many can comprehend the law of primal chaos? Huyang City was bustling as usual. The countless citizens inside did not care about the conflict between the Sha Kingdom and Yu country, as such strife had already continued for an endless expanse of time, longer than the lifespan of a true god. They were long accustomed to it. Luo Feng and Morosa, master and servant, were both in seclusion. Inside the cave mansion, only Moyu Qingyang was left to guard alone. Finally, one day, in Morosa's dedicated layer of the Star Tower space, he sat cross-legged where the divine body of Shuiyun had long been absorbed. Suddenly, Morosa's body trembled, and a terrifying aura was released from his figure, sweeping across that layer of the Star Tower space. This aura, full of destructive and murderous intent, even startled Luo Feng from his lengthy meditation. What's going on? Luo Feng sensed the entire Star Tower naturally, and with a thought, he was already in that layer of space. Luo Feng looked at Morosa in front of him. Morosa was still sitting cross-legged, but was engulfed by the grandiose, turbulent, and terrifying aura of destruction that unceasingly swept the entire space. Merely facing this terrifying aura, Luo Feng's body naturally exerted blade technique domain as protection, resisting this terrifying aura. The sector beast's breakthrough to the primal chaos realm is indeed terrifying, Luo Feng said inwardly. After the unstable aura of destruction wreaked havoc for a long time, Morosa's body also began to transform, effortlessly taking on his truest form. A high and perfect life form appeared, surpassing the beauty of any species. This beauty even contained the supreme mysteries. Luo Feng understood that the sector beast was born from the great Tao of destruction origin, and its body naturally reached the perfect limit of every realm. A full day passed before Morosa slowly opened his eyes. Master, the domain within me has completely transformed into the primal chaos realm. Morosa looked at Luo Feng and said, now my body also needs to transform into the primal chaos realm. You don't need to worry about me, just focus on your breakthrough. Luo Feng watched from the side. Morosa nodded. Boom tilde tilde tilde. Morosa's body began to evolve, transforming from the eternal realm to the primal chaos realm, every bit of strength reaching a new level. In just a moment, his body had completely transformed. Watching Morosa now, Luo Feng felt that, in a head-on clash, the primal chaos realm Morosa might be able to completely shatter him with a single slap. Both being perfect life forms, the gap between the primal chaos realm and the eternal realm was too great. Master, my body has already transformed, and my divine power is 100 times purer, which is why my frame has decreased substantially. Morosa reverted to his simple appearance and said, I need to absorb energy continuously, to supply my body's growth. This process might last for about 1 era. The growth of the body is always slow, Luo Feng nodded. The first lengthy seclusion he had undergone upon coming to the land of origin had allowed his godly body to grow to its limit. Your godly body at the true god level had a maximum height of 18 billion kilometers just like mine, Luo Feng asked. At the primal chaos realm level, how high do you estimate you can grow? The information transmitted by the destruction of the origin lets me understand that my maximum height at the primal chaos realm should exceed 1 trillion kilometers, Morosa replied. Measuring over 1 trillion kilometers tall, with 100-fold more refined strength, the energy required is naturally immense. It's quite normal that it took nearly 1 era for his body to grow to its limit, especially since Morosa made a comprehensive breakthrough and greatly increased the efficiency of absorbing energy from heaven and earth. The same is true for Luo Feng's future. Even with the comprehension of primal chaos laws, it would take a long time for the godly body to grow to its limit. Take it slow, there's no rush, Luo Feng said. The advantage of a perfect life form is indeed considerable, and that's just for a primal chaos realm sector beast. What about at the godly king tier? How terrifying would it be? It's feared that with one breath, Huyang City would be reduced to ashes. No wonder the pinnacle sector beasts have such strong deterrence in the land of origin, enabling Tianmu Kingdom to become a first-rate nation in one go. It's precisely because of the fear of pinnacle sector beasts that the various forces in the land of origin will eliminate all weak sector beasts, giving them no chance to grow. Even after becoming a primal chaos realm being, outside of the Star Tower, you still must not reveal any sector beast abilities, Luo Feng reminded. Don't worry, Master, I understand, Morosa nodded. The more he understood, the deeper he realized the waters of the land of origin were. His current target is the sector beast from Tianmu Kingdom. To learn from the senior, to bide one's time until the pinnacle. Fortunately, his master is also a perfect life form. Believing that they would be stronger together in the future than the Purple Wood Godly King and Sector Beast Union of Tianmu Kingdom. Master, before Shuiyun's death, his bloodline had completely transformed. Morosa explained, by absorbing his godly body, I've also grasped more of the power of the destruction origin. Would you like me to show it to you now? Sure, Luo Feng nodded, show me. Whether it's the destruction refinement method or the integration of life and death, Luo Feng attaches great importance to the destruction origin. With just a thought from Morosa, the profound mysteries of the destruction origin unfolded before him. After seeing the complete picture of the great Tao of life origin, what Morosa showed was something Luo Feng could now watch calmly. After all, in terms of power and level, what Morosa showed was far too weak. As Luo Feng watched, he became absorbed in it. The great Tao of destruction origin that Morosa displayed might be limited, but it also included the complete primal chaos laws and some shallow-level mysteries of the destruction origin. These shallow levels, which came naturally with Morosa's ascent to the primal chaos realm, far surpassed Luo Feng's current tier. Despite the great Tao of life origin being quite complete, Luo Feng's realm is too low, and he needs to carefully select and selectively absorb insights, fearing contamination and distortion of his own path of cultivation. The mysteries of the destruction origin shown by Morosa might be weaker, but they are still a full tier higher than Luo Feng's, making them incredibly suitable for Luo Feng to grasp. No need for selection, just comprehension without fear of twisted understanding. Morosa, your progress is substantial. The mysteries of the destruction origin you have shown are much stronger than before, Luo Feng said as he contemplated, offering praise. I am now of the primal chaos realm, my comprehension of the destruction origin is naturally higher. Morosa eagerly demonstrated his grasp of the destruction origin, also hoping his master would grow quickly. Luo Feng contemplated for a day, then stood up. Morosa, continue your cultivation at your own pace. After only one day, you're not watching anymore? Morosa felt one day was too short. In the past, contemplating for dozens of days or even longer was quite normal. No need for now, Luo Feng had already returned to his own space in the Star Tower. Sitting cross-legged, Luo Feng's mere day of observing the destruction origin was because a spark of inspiration emerged in his mind. Destruction origin. Life origin. Luo Feng had watched the great Tao of life origin many times and now, after viewing a lot of destruction origin information, the understanding of the two great Taos naturally corroborated each other. As time passed by day, the insights continually fused, and that spark in Luo Feng's mind became clearer. The world of cultivation is full of endless possibilities and temptations. A so-called opportunity might attract cultivators to another path, or they might be trapped at a bottleneck, unable to break through in their lifetime. The path of cultivation is like advancing through a fog. You wouldn't know you've taken a wrong turn even if you had. I understand now. Luo Feng faintly saw a blurred path appear amidst the fog of cultivation. The great Tao of life origin and the great Tao of destruction origin are utterly different paths, yet Luo Feng grasped the slight connection between them, forming this vague path. This path is destined to be difficult. After all, merging the two great Taos is bound to be challenging. Life and destruction should be one and the same, Luo Feng said softly, the words uttered within the confinement of the Star Tower bearing an unwavering resolve, coming from the depths of his heart. Without life, everything is but dead matter, what point then would destruction serve? With the concept of life, the notion of destruction becomes meaningful. As a living being, the stronger I am, the more powerful my destructive force can be. They naturally complement each other. At this moment, Luo Feng felt that a pure life origin was too fragile, lacking the necessary aggression and deterrence to protect life. The path of pure destruction origin is too extreme. To pursue destruction single-mindedly, like the sector beasts, is to naturally invite pursuit and interception from all quarters, like the sector beast of Tianmu Kingdom, which now has an owner and no longer works solely towards destruction. It has become tolerable to the various forces of the land of origin. Pure destruction is not the right approach. Even as I follow the Tao of destruction, I do so for the lives that matter to me, for those I wish to protect in my heart. Destruction is for the sake of life. At least, that's how I see it. Luo Feng felt that life and destruction were two origin great Taos that could perfectly integrate. He faced a vast comprehension of the great Tao of life origin and observed the many insights into the destruction origin demonstrated by Morosa. The combination came naturally. With new understandings rising in his mind, Luo Feng felt his heart brimming with joy. There is an old earth saying in our hometown, hearing the Tao in the morning, one can die in the evening without regret. The joy one feels when seeing one's own Tao is a joy that spreads through the entire soul. It is the path one has chosen with certainty and the path one delights in from the heart. The path I shall take is one that combines the origins of life and destruction, which may be called Tao of life and death. I hope that one day I may be worthy to be referred to as the great Tao of life and death, Luo Feng thought. With many insights blossoming in his heart, Luo Feng naturally extended his hand, his fingertips lightly tracing a path that made visible spatial scars within the space of the Star Tower. This one stroke. It was like cleaving an ox with a chef's knife or opening up the void with a blade. It was as though a paintbrush was making strokes across the sky and earth, leaving traces imprinted on the void. It contained an incomparable sharpness. Luo Feng had not even ignited his godly body but merely traced with his finger, and it was enough to rival the full power strike he used against Shuiyun while burning divine power. It also contained Luo Feng's spiritual will. What he cared about the most on his journey of cultivation were those he needed to protect, his own family, his own people. After coming to the land of origin, he was cautious because if he were to die, without him, the countless humans in his tiny cosmos wouldn't survive. Without him, what would become of his family, the fate of his human race? The talent of a primordial ancestor is good, but having arrived at the land of origin, he had yet to become an eternal true god. This shows that talent pales in comparison to personal effort. To protect his family and the human race, the best way is to rely on oneself. This is my Tao, Luo Feng said as he looked at the traces in the half-sky. Luo Feng was very pleased. He had found his Tao. As many cultivators grow stronger, they generally choose to focus on one origin great Tao for their cultivation. But Luo Feng, before reaching the primal chaos realm, chose from his heart a path that merged two Taos, believing that pure destruction origin and pure life origin didn't align with his true nature. In terms of realm, this move can be considered a primal chaos realm technique. It's also the first primal chaos realm technique I've realized. Luo Feng casually made another slight movement, causing spatial scars to appear in the usually stable space of the Star Tower. This move shall be called heart honing. The path of cultivation is arduous, and I hope that after enduring 1,000 trials and tribulations, I can still remain true to my original intent. Luo Feng was also reminding himself. For he had seen many powerful beings change themselves along with their cultivation. There were many in his original primordial cosmos and on the land of origin. Take Shuiyun, for instance, who once had a loved one but, in the end, was willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of becoming stronger. Cultivation is also about honing the heart. Luo Feng seated himself cross-legged and began to focus on his cultivation again. The insights of the life origin and the destruction origin were still gradually merging, and Luo Feng was very clear that he was still weak and needed to move forward with devotion and step by step. Just regarding the realm, with only one realized primal chaos realm technique, he still had a gap compared to the former Shuiyun. A 9-layered tower starts from the accumulation of soil. A 1,000-mile journey begins under one's feet. At the mansion of the Lord of Huyang City, an armor-clad woman with hundreds of braids led a group of guards and was respectfully welcomed by the leaders of the 5 great families. Your Highness, the 5 leaders looked at the armor-clad woman respectfully. The armor-clad woman stood there, with waves of water surging around her, emanating an intangible yet terrifying might. She was Yushire Tianyu, one of the 35 children of the monarch of the Yu country, and was quite outstanding among them. The armor-clad woman laughed heartily, her voice hearty. I heard from Father King that Huyang produced a very remarkable eternal true god named Luo He, with strength even better than Yong Hu's, right? The Lord of Huyang City replied respectfully, in terms of strength, among the eternal true gods of the Yu kingdom, there are very few who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Lord Luo He. Probably none are stronger. Then I've come to the right place, the armor-clad woman nodded with satisfaction. It's no wonder Father King has put so much thought into arranging an opportunity for him. He might even become my senior apprentice brother. The monarch intends to take him as a disciple? The leader of the Wu clan, Wu Kulu, asked. That's not so easy. Even with high talent, one must go through trials to have the hope of becoming Father King's disciple, the armor-clad woman said. All right, hurry up and arrange for me to meet this Lord Luo He immediately. Yes, Your Highness, the leaders of the 5 great families responded respectfully. This video will end here.